I found my mother's wedding dress in the trash. Not in storage. Not donated. In the trash, stuffed into a garbage bag like it was nothing, like 23 years of memories could just be thrown away. My hand shook as I pulled the ivory silk from between potato peels and coffee grounds, and that's when I heard her voice behind me. "Oh good, you found it. I need that bag for the actual garbage." My stepmother, Diane, stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, and I realized in that moment that this wasn't an accident. This was a declaration of war. My name is Nova Chen, and 6 months ago, my father remarried. 6 months after my mother died. 6 months of watching a stranger move into our home, rearrange our furniture, and slowly erase every trace of the woman who raised me. But throwing away Mom's wedding dress? That crossed a line I didn't even know existed. "This was Mom's," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The dress was stained now, ruined, and my chest felt like it was caving in. This was her wedding dress. Diane sighed like I was being dramatic. "Nova, it's been 6 months. Your father and I are married now, and frankly, keeping your mother's things around is unhealthy. For all of us." She said it so casually, like she was discussing expired milk, not the destruction of my mother's memory. "Besides, I'm planning to redecorate the house. New beginning, fresh start. You understand." I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything anymore. My father, David, had always been my hero. Strong, dependable, the kind of man who coached my soccer team and taught me to change a tire and told me every single day that I was his little girl. When Mom got sick 3 years ago with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, he held our family together. He held me together. Through every chemo appointment, every hospital visit, every devastating prognosis, he was there. We were there. Together. And then Mom died, and something in Dad died too. He threw himself into work, staying late at the office, taking business trips that lasted weeks. I was 23, technically an adult, but I'd never felt more like a lost child. I tried to talk to him, tried to grieve together, but he kept saying he was fine. He kept saying we'd be fine. And then, 2 months after Mom's funeral, he came home with Diane. She was younger than him by 15 years. Blonde, polished, with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. "Your father needs support right now," she'd said when he introduced us. "We all need support." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe Dad had found someone who could help him heal, help us heal. But from the moment she moved in, everything changed. First, it was small things. Mom's favorite throw pillows disappeared. The family photos in the living room got temporarily taken down for cleaning and never went back up. Mom's garden in the backyard, the one she'd spent years cultivating, suddenly got dug up because Diane wanted a modern landscaping aesthetic. Every time I protested, Dad just said, "Diane's trying to make this her home too, Nova. We need to be fair." Fair. As if erasing my mother was fair. But the wedding dress was different. That wasn't redecorating. That was cruel. "I'm keeping this," I said, clutching the stained silk to my chest. "You have no right." "I have every right," Diane interrupted, her voice sharp now. "This is my house. Your father and I agreed that we need to move forward, and that means letting go of the past. Including your mother." "Don't you dare talk about my mother," I snapped, and something flickered in Diane's eyes. Satisfaction, maybe. Like she'd been waiting for me to snap. "Your mother is gone, Nova. I'm here now. And the sooner you accept that, the better off everyone will be." She stepped closer, her perfectly manicured hand reaching for the dress. "No, give me the dress, or I'll call your father and tell him you're being unreasonable again." Unreasonable. That was her favorite word for me. Every time I protested, every time I pushed back against her changes, I was being unreasonable. And Dad always took her side. Always. I pulled the dress away from her. "I'm taking this to my room. And if you touch any more of Mom's things, I swear you'll what?" Diane's smile was cold. "You're living in your father's house, Nova. Under his roof. If you don't like the changes I'm making, you're welcome to leave." The words hit me like a slap. Leave? This was my home. I grew up here. Mom died here. Every corner of this house held memories of her, and Diane wanted me to just leave. We'll see what Dad says about this, I muttered, pushing past her and running upstairs to my room. I locked the door behind me and collapsed on my bed, the ruined dress spread out beside me. The silk was stained beyond repair, the delicate lace torn in places. I'd seen photos of Mom wearing this dress on her wedding day, radiant and young and so full of hope. And now it was garbage. I pulled out my phone and texted my father, "We need to talk. Now." He didn't respond for 3 hours. When he finally called, he was in his car heading home from work. Nova, Diane told me what happened. I need you to calm down and be reasonable about this. Reasonable? Dad, she threw away Mom's wedding dress. She was cleaning out the attic. She didn't know she knew exactly what she was doing. She told me she's getting rid of all of Mom's things. She said this isn't Mom's house anymore, it's hers. There was a long pause. When Dad spoke again, his voice was tired. Nova, I know this is hard for you. It's hard for all of us. But Diane is my wife now, and she deserves to feel comfortable in her own home. Your mother would want us to move on. Don't, I said, my voice breaking. Don't you dare tell me what Mom would want. Mom would be horrified by what you're doing. You were married 6 months after she died, Dad. 6 months. And now you're letting Diana raise her like she never existed. That's not fair, Nova. Nothing about this is fair. I was crying now, angry tears that I couldn't hold back. You didn't even ask me. You didn't even talk to me before you married her. You just brought her home one day and expected me to accept it. And now she's throwing away Mom's things and telling me to leave if I don't like it. Is that what you want? You want me to leave? Nova, is it? Another long pause. I think maybe some space would be good for everyone. You're 23. Maybe it's time you started thinking about your own life, your own place. I hung up. I couldn't listen to any more. My own father was choosing her over me. Over Mom's memory. Over everything. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, staring at the ruined wedding dress, and tried to figure out what to do. By morning, I'd made a decision. I couldn't leave. This was my home, my mother's home, but I also couldn't keep living like this. I needed proof. Proof that Diane wasn't who she pretended to be. Proof that she was deliberately trying to replace my mother. And I was going to find it. The next day, while Diane was out shopping and Dad was at work, I searched her things. I felt guilty doing it, like I was stooping to her level, but I also felt like I didn't have a choice. She'd invaded my life, my home. It was time I learned the truth about hers. I started in the guest room, which Diane had converted into her personal office. Her desk was immaculate, everything organized in neat labeled folders. Bills, grocery lists, interior design magazines. Nothing interesting. But then I found a locked drawer. It was small, built into the side of the desk, and it required a key. I searched for 10 minutes before I found the key taped to the underside of a decorative box on her bookshelf. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the drawer and pulled it open. Inside was a folder. Just one folder, plain and unmarked. I opened it and started reading, and with each page my blood ran colder. It was research. Extensive research. On my father. Financial records, property deeds, insurance policies. There were printouts from social media, screenshots of our family photos, notes written in Diane's handwriting. One note, dated 8 months ago, 1 month before Mom died, said, "Target confirmed. Widow imminent." Timeline, 6 minutes, 8 months post-death, optimal for approach. Vulnerability high. Target. She'd called my father a target. There were more notes. Plans. A timeline of exactly how she'd accidentally met my father at a grief support group 2 months after Mom died. How she'd positioned herself as someone who understood his pain, who could help him heal. There were even notes about me. Daughter Nova, 23, will be resistant. Recommend isolation tactics. drive wedged between father/daughter to secure position. She'd planned all of this. Every single thing. The chance meeting, the whirlwind romance, the quick marriage. None of it was real. Diane wasn't in love with my father. She was using him. And she'd deliberately tried to drive us apart to do it. I took photos of everything with my phone, my hand shaking so badly I could barely hold it steady. There was more in the folder. A copy of my father's life insurance policy. He was worth $2 million if something happened to him. A printout of our house's estimated value, $2 million. Notes about his investment portfolio, his retirement accounts. And at the very bottom of the folder, a page that made my stomach turn. It was a list. Not of my father's assets, but of other men. 5 names, 5 ages, 5 locations. Next to each name was a date, a duration, and a payout. Diane had done this before. Multiple times. She'd married wealthy widowers, isolated them from their families, and then what? Divorced them and taken half. Or worse. One name on the list had a red X through it. Next to it, in Diane's handwriting, deceased, accidental fall. Full payout. I felt like I was going to be sick. This woman wasn't just a gold digger. She was dangerous. And my father had married her, brought her into our home, led her into our lives. I had to tell him. I had to show him the truth before it was too late. I locked the drawer, replaced the key, and ran downstairs. I tried calling Dad, but he didn't answer. I sent him a text, "Dad, call me immediately. It's an emergency." About Diane. Then I paced the living room, clutching my phone, waiting for him to respond. He didn't call. Instead, 30 minutes later, I heard the front door open. But it wasn't Dad who walked in. It was Diane. She stopped when she saw me, her eyes narrowing. "You're home early." "So are you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. My phone felt like it was burning in my pocket, the evidence literally in my hands. "I thought you were shopping." "I forgot my wallet." She walked past me toward the stairs, and I felt panic rising in my chest. If she went up to her office, if she checked that drawer, Diane, wait. "We need to talk." She paused, turning to look at me with that same cold smile. "About what?" "About my father. About your marriage. About who you really are." For just a second, something flickered in her expression. Fear, maybe. Or calculation. "I have no idea what you're talking about, Nova. But I don't have time for your drama right now." She turned to go upstairs. "I know about the folder," I said. She froze. "I know about the research you did on my father. I know about the other men. I know you targeted him, that you planned all of this, that none of it was real. And I know you've done this before." Diane turned slowly. When she looked at me now, the mask was gone. No more fake smiles, no more pretense. Her eyes were hard, calculating. "You went through my things. You went through my entire life. You came into my home, manipulated my father, tried to erase my mother, and you did it all for money. So yes, I went through your things. And I took photos of everything." "No, you didn't." She said it with such confidence that for a moment I doubted myself. But then she pulled out her phone and held it up. On the screen was a live feed from a camera I hadn't noticed, hidden in her office. The video showed me clearly going through her drawer, taking photos of the folder. "You really should be more careful, Nova," Diane said softly. "Breaking and entering, invasion of privacy, theft of personal documents. I wonder what your father will think when he sees this video." "That's long." I started, but she cut me off. "That's not what?" "Not illegal." "Because it is. I could have you arrested." Or she tilted her head, considering. "Or we could make a deal. You delete those photos, you stop causing problems, and we never speak of this again. You get to stay in your precious house, and I get to stay married to your father. Everyone wins. Everyone wins. You're using him. You're providing him with companionship and support during a difficult time," Diane finished smoothly. Something you failed to do, by the way. Your father was drowning in grief, and you were too busy wallowing in your own pain to notice. I saved him, Nova. I gave him a reason to keep living. So what if I also happened to benefit financially? That's called marriage. That's called fraud. And when I show Dad those photos, he won't believe you, Diane interrupted. He'll see that video of you breaking into my office, violating my privacy, and he'll think you've lost your mind. You've been unreasonable for months, remember? Difficult. Refusing to accept me, refusing to move on. He already thinks you need space. How hard do you think it will be for me to convince him that you need professional help? She was right. I could see it playing out exactly the way she described. Dad would see the video, see me going through her things, and he'd take her side. He always did. And the photos I had taken of her folder, without context, without trust, they just looked like the desperate actions of a daughter who couldn't let go. You can't do this, I whispered. I already have. Diane smiled, and this time it was genuine. Victorious. Your mother is dead, Nova. I'm alive. And your father has made his choice. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be for everyone. She walked upstairs, leaving me standing alone in the living room. I looked down at my phone, at the photos I'd taken, and I realized she was right about one thing: Dad wouldn't believe me. Not without more proof. Not without something concrete. That I wasn't giving up. If Diane thought she'd won, she was wrong. This was just the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Diane carefully. I documented everything. Every time she spoke to my father, I listened. Every time she left the house, I tried to follow. I created a spreadsheet of her activities, her phone calls, her patterns. I know it looked obsessive. I knew I was becoming exactly what she'd accused me of being. But I also knew I was right. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday afternoon. Dad was at work, and Diane was in her office on a phone call. I was in my room, door cracked open, straining to hear. At first, it was just normal conversation, something about a lunch reservation, a hair appointment. But then her tone changed. No, the timeline is still on track, she said, her voice low. 6 more months, maybe a year. Then we initiate the divorce. He won't contest it, I've made sure of that. The prenup is useless, I had a lawyer review it. He'll give me the house just to keep things quiet, especially once I tell him about the incidents. Incidents? What incidents? Yes, I've been documenting everything, Diane continued. His drinking, his mood swings, his neglect of responsibilities. It's all in writing. If he tries to fight me, I'll threaten to go public with it. His business reputation won't survive the scandal. He'll settle, just like the others. I felt sick. She wasn't just planning to divorce my father. She was planning to destroy him. To take everything and leave him with nothing, just like she'd done to those other men. The man with the red X next to his name, the one who'd died in an accidental fall, had she done something to him too? I grabbed my phone and hit record, holding it near the door crack. Diane was still talking, her voice sharp and businesslike. The daughter is a problem, but I'm handling it. She'll be out of the picture soon. David's already convinced she needs to move out. Once she's gone, there'll be no one to interfere. Out of the picture. The way she said it, so cold and casual, made my blood run cold. What did that mean? Was she just planning to drive me out of the house, or was there something more sinister? I kept recording for another 5 minutes until Diane ended the call. Then I transferred the audio file to my laptop, made 3 backup copies, and sent one to myself via email. This was it. This was the proof I needed. Dad would have to believe me now. I waited until that evening, when Dad came home from work. Diane was in the kitchen, preparing dinner and humming to herself like she didn't have a care in the world. I caught Dad as he was heading upstairs to change. Dad, I need to talk to you. Alone. It's important. He looked tired, like he always did these days. Nova, can it wait? I've had a long day, and it can't wait. Please. 5 minutes. He sighed but nodded, following me into the study and closing the door. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos first, the folder, the research, the notes about targeting him. Dad, look at these. Diane isn't who you think she is. Where did you get these? His voice was sharp, angry. Did you go through Diane's things? Nova, I told you, Dad, please, just look at them. She planned everything. Meeting you at that grief support group, the marriage, all of it. She's done this before to other men. She's using you. He barely glanced at the photos. These could be anything. Research for a book, notes from a psychology class. You're seeing what you want to see because you can't accept that I've moved on. It's not. I switched to the audio recording. Then listen to this. I recorded her on the phone today. She's planning to divorce you, Dad. She's documenting fake incidents to use against you. She wants the house, your money, everything. She's already done this to 5 other men. I played the recording. Diane's voice filled the small room, cold and calculating. 6 more months, maybe a year. Then we initiate the divorce. He won't contest it, his business reputation won't survive the scandal. I watched my father's face as he listened. For a moment, just one moment, I saw doubt flicker in his eyes. Confusion. Hurt. But then the recording got to the part where Diane mentioned me. The daughter is a problem, but I'm handling it. And I saw his expression change again. Harden. You recorded a private conversation, he said quietly. Without permission. In my house. Dad, did you hear what she said? She's using you. She's planning to have a one-sided conversation that could mean anything. He turned away from me, rubbing his face with his hands. Nova, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep watching you spiral like this. You're obsessed. You're invading privacy, making accusations, recording people without consent. This isn't healthy. And not the one who's sick, Dad. She is. She's dangerous. Enough. His voice cracked like a whip, and I flinched. My father never yelled at me. Never. I have tried to be patient with you. I have tried to understand your grief, your anger. But this has gone too far. Diane is my wife. I love her. And I will not stand here and let you make these insane accusations. They're not insane. The proof is right there. The proof is photos you took by illegally breaking into her private office and a recording you made without permission. Do you realize that what you've done could get you arrested? That Diane would be well within her rights to press charges. I felt the ground shift beneath me. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Dad, please. I'm your daughter. Mom's daughter. You have to believe me. Your mother, he said, his voice breaking, would be ashamed of what you've become. She raised you to be better than this. To be kinder than this. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually stepped backward, gasping. Don't you dare. Don't you dare use Mom against me when you're the one who replaced her. I didn't replace her. I moved on. There's a difference. In 6 months. You moved on in 6 months. Yes. Dad shouted, and now there were tears on his face. Yes, I moved on in 6 months, because if I hadn't, I would have died. Do you understand that, Nova? Your mother's death nearly killed me. Every single day was agony. Waking up, going to work, coming home to this empty house. And you were drowning in your own grief, and I couldn't help you because I could barely help myself. And then I met Diane, and she gave me a reason to keep breathing. She saved my life. She's going to ruin it, I whispered. No, you're going to ruin it if you don't stop this. Dad walked to the door, paused with his hand on the knob. I want you to move out, Nova. By the end of the month. Find an apartment, start your own life. I'll help you with the deposit, the first few months of rent. But you can't stay here anymore. It's not good for you, and it's not good for my marriage. That end of the month, Nova. I mean it. He left. I stood alone in the study, my phone still clutched in my hand, the recording still playing in a loop. The daughter is a problem, but I'm handling it. I had 3 weeks. The next morning, I woke up to find Diane in the kitchen making breakfast. She smiled when she saw me, bright and cheerful. "Good morning, Nova. Your father told me you'll be moving out soon. I think that's wonderful. So healthy for you to start your independence." I didn't respond. I poured myself coffee and sat at the table, watching her move around the kitchen like she owned it. Which, I suppose, she did now. "I know you probably hate me," Diane said, flipping pancakes. "But I do hope someday you'll understand. Your father and I really do love each other. And I'm not trying to replace your mother. I'm just trying to build a new life. For all of us." "I know what you're doing," I said quietly. "I'm making breakfast. I mean with my father. With this house. I know what you're planning, and I'm not going to let it happen." Diane set down her spatula and turned to face me. "Nova, I think you need help. Professional help. Your father thinks so too. You're seeing conspiracies that don't exist, making accusations that aren't true. It's classic paranoid behavior. I have proof. You have photos you took by breaking into my office and a recording you made illegally. If you show those to anyone, you'll be the one in trouble, not me." She smiled. "But please go ahead. Show them to your father's friends, his colleagues, the police. See what happens. I guarantee you it won't end the way you think." She was right, and we both knew it. Without credible witnesses, without something more substantial, I just looked like an unstable daughter who couldn't accept her father's remarriage. Diane had positioned herself perfectly. She was the grieving widow's replacement, the woman who'd saved a broken man. I was the problem child, the obstacle to their happiness. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Over the next 2 weeks, I reached out to every name on that list. 5 men Diane had married before my father. 3 of them hung up on me immediately. 1 threatened to call the police if I contacted him again. But the last one, the brother of the man who'd died in the accidental fall, he listened. His name was Marcus, and his brother James had been Diane's 3rd husband. She called herself Diane Crawford back then. Marcus told me over the phone. His voice was rough, tired. Married my brother 6 months after his first wife died of cancer. 2 years later, James fell down the stairs and broke his neck. Diane inherited everything. "Did the police investigate?" I asked. "They did. Ruled it an accident. There was no evidence of foul play, and Diane had an alibi. She was out shopping when it happened. But I never believed it. James was careful. He wouldn't have just fallen. And Diane, there was something off about her. The way she grieved, it wasn't real. It was like she was performing." "Did you find anything? Any proof?" "No. But I'll tell you this, 2 weeks before James died, he told me he wanted a divorce. Said he'd found some papers in Diane's office, some kind of plan or scheme. He didn't give me details, just said he was going to confront her and end things. 2 weeks later, he was dead. My blood ran cold. He found proof, and then he died. That's what I believe. But belief isn't proof, and the police wouldn't listen to me. They thought I was just a grieving brother looking for someone to blame. "I have proof," I said. "Photos, a recording. She's doing the same thing to my father. Planning a divorce, documenting fake incidents. I need to stop her before it's too late," Marcus finished grimly. "Listen, I'll help you however I can. But you need to be careful. If Diane thinks you're a threat, if she thinks you're going to expose her," he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I thanked Marcus and hung up, my mind racing. James had found proof and confronted Diane. And then he died. If I confronted her directly, would the same thing happen to me? Or would it happen to Dad? I couldn't risk it. I needed to go to the police, show them everything I had. But when I had tried, 2 days later, sitting in a police station with my photos and recording, the detective just looked at me with pity. "Miss Chen, I understand you're concerned about your father. But what you've shown me isn't evidence of a crime. Your stepmother researching your father's finances before marriage. That's due diligence, not fraud. We're talking about divorce on the phone. That's a private conversation about a private matter. The recording itself might actually be illegal, depending on state laws. But the other men, I pressed. She's done this before. One of them died under suspicious circumstances. James Crawford's death was investigated and ruled accidental. If you have new evidence about that case, you need to contact the police department in that jurisdiction. But based on what you've shown me, there's nothing here that warrants an investigation. I left the police station feeling defeated. Everywhere I turned, Diane had covered her tracks. She was too smart, too careful. And I was running out of time. 5 days before my move-out deadline, something changed. I came home from job hunting to find my father sitting in the living room alone, holding a glass of whiskey. It was 3 in the afternoon. Dad rarely drank, and never during the day. Dad? I sat down across from him. Are you okay? He looked up at me, and I was shocked by what I saw. He looked hollow, exhausted, older than I'd ever seen him. I need to ask you something, Nova. And I need you to be honest with me. Of course. The things you said about Diane. The research, the plan, the other men. Did you make any of that up? Even a little bit? My heart started racing. No. Dad, I swear everything I showed you was real. Why? What happened? He took a long drink of whiskey. I found something today. In Diane's car. She'd left her phone, and I was going to bring it to her at her hair appointment. But it was unlocked, and I saw there was a text message from a number I didn't recognize. It said, "Time I'm moving up. Initiate phase 3 by end of month." Phase 3. End of month. That was in 5 days. I confronted her about it when she got home. Dad continued, his voice shaking. Asked her what it meant. She said it was about a surprise party she was planning for me. But the way she said it, Nova, she was lying. I could tell. And I started thinking about everything you'd said, everything you'd shown me. And I went to her office. You found the folder, I breathed. I found a lot of things. Dad set down his glass, his hands trembling. Financial records. Plans. Notes about me, about you, about the glass. Nova, you were right. About all of it. She's been lying to me from the beginning. Relief flooded through me, so intense I almost started crying. Dad, we need to go to the police. We need to. She's gone, Dad interrupted. I confronted her with everything I found. Told her I wanted a divorce, that I was going to report her for fraud. And she just smiled. Said I couldn't prove anything, that she'd made sure of that. Said if I tried to expose her, she'd ruin me. She has documents, Nova. Forged documents that make it look like I've been embezzling from my own company. If she releases them, she'll destroy you, I finished. Dad nodded. My business, my reputation, everything. She said she'd make sure I lost it all unless I gave her exactly what she wanted, the house, half my assets, and my silence. She said I had 48 hours to decide. We can fight her, I said desperately. We have proof now. We can. She has more proof than we do. Better proof. I looked at the document she showed me, Nova. They're sophisticated. If she takes them to the authorities, I'll be arrested. I could go to prison. I felt sick. This was Diane's endgame. She hadn't just been planning a simple divorce. She'd been setting up an insurance policy, a way to guarantee my father couldn't fight back. And she'd done it so carefully, so thoroughly, that even now, with the truth exposed, we were trapped. There has to be something we can do, I said. Dad just shook his head. I don't know. I don't know anymore. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I remembered Marcus. James's brother. Dad, I talked to someone. The brother of one of Diane's previous husbands. His brother found out about Diane's scheme and confronted her, and 2 weeks later, he died. The police ruled it an accident, but it wasn't. Dad finished, his face going pale. Nova, if she's done this before, if she's God, what have I brought into our home? We need to be careful, I said. If she thinks we're going to expose her. The front door opened. We both jumped, and Diane walked in, carrying shopping bags and wearing that same bright smile. Hello. I'm home. I picked up some steaks for dinner. David, I thought we could talk about our weekend plans. She trailed off, seeing our faces. Is everything all right? Everything's fine, Dad said, but his voice was too tight. We were just talking. Diane's smile didn't waver, but something shifted in her eyes. Talking about what? About Nova's move. Helping her find an apartment. Oh, how lovely. Diane set down her bags, her gaze moving between us. You both look so serious, though. Are you sure everything's all right? Yes, I said quickly. We're fine. I should go pack. More packing to do. I escaped upstairs, my heart pounding. Diane knew. I could see it in her eyes. She knew that we knew, and now she was calculating her next move. What would phase 3 entail? What was supposed to happen by the end of the month? That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to the sounds of the house. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate footsteps. They stopped outside my door. I held my breath, staring at the thin line of light visible beneath my door. A shadow moved across it. Someone was standing right outside my room, waiting, listening. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps moved away. I heard them going downstairs, heard the creak of the kitchen door opening. I waited 10 minutes, then crept out of bed and peered into the hallway. Empty. But the light was on in the kitchen. I knew I should stay in my room. Lock the door, call someone, do anything except investigate. But I couldn't help myself. I crept downstairs, staying in the shadows, and peered around the corner into the kitchen. Diane was standing at the counter, her back to me. She was doing something with her hands, working on something I couldn't see. Then she stepped aside, and I saw what she'd been doing. She'd made tea. 2 cups sitting on the counter. And in one of them I watched as she emptied a small vial of clear liquid. My blood ran cold. I stepped backward, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a gasp. Diane was poisoning something. The tea? Was she planning to give it to Dad? To me? I pulled out my phone, hand shaking, and started recording. Diane picked up both cups and walked toward the doorway toward me. I barely had time to duck back around the corner before she emerged, carrying the tray upstairs. I heard her footsteps, heard her pause outside my father's bedroom. David? Her voice was soft, concerned. Are you awake? I brought you some tea. I thought it might help you sleep. I didn't hear Dad's response, but I heard his door open. Heard Diane go inside. And then I ran. I ran to my father's bedroom and burst through the door without knocking. Dad was sitting in bed, looking confused. Diane was standing beside him, holding the tray with the 2 cups. She turned when I entered, her expression perfectly innocent. Nova? What's wrong? Don't drink that, I said, my voice shaking. Dad, don't drink the tea. What? Dad looked at the cup, then at me. Nova, it's just tea. Diane made it to help me sleep. I saw her, I said, holding up my phone. I recorded her. She put something in it. Some kind of liquid from a vial. Dad, she's trying to poison you. The room went silent. Diane's face didn't change, but I saw her hand tighten on the tray. Nova, you're being ridiculous. I added honey. Just honey. I keep it in a small bottle because it's easier to pour. Then let's test it, I said. Let's take it to a lab and test it. If it's just honey, you have nothing to worry about. This is insane, Diane said, looking at my father. David, your daughter has completely lost touch with reality. She's making wild accusations, recording people without permission, now claiming I'm trying to poison you. She needs professional help. Ted looked at the tea, then at me, then at Diane. Diane, I think maybe we should test it. Just to be sure. Something flickered in Diane's expression. Anger, maybe. Or fear. You don't believe her, do you? After everything we've been through, you believe her insane accusations. I don't know what to believe anymore, Dad said quietly. But Nova's my daughter. And if there's even a chance Diane's mask cracked. Just for a second, I saw pure rage flash across her face. Then she smiled, cold and sharp. Fine. That's it. Waste your time and money. But when it comes back as just tea and honey, I want her out of this house. Tonight. No more waiting until the end of the month. She goes now, or I do. Deal, I said immediately. We took the tea to an emergency clinic that night, Dad and I, leaving Diane at home. The doctor looked at us like we were crazy, but he agreed to run a toxicology screen. It would take 2 days for the results. Those were the longest 2 days of my life. Dad and I stayed at a hotel, neither of us willing to sleep under the same roof as Diane. She called constantly, leaving voicemails that alternated between concerned and furious. David, please come home. We can work this out. Nova is sick. She needs help. Don't let her destroy our marriage. On the morning of the second day, the clinic called. Dad and I drove there together, both of us silent, both of us terrified of what we'd find out. The doctor's face was grim when he met us in his office. Missed it. Shan, I'm going to need you to file a police report. The substance we found in that tea wasn't honey. It was a combination of sedatives and blood thinners. In the dosage present, it wouldn't have killed you immediately, but over time, with repeated exposure, it would have looked like a heart attack. Dad finished, his voice hollow. Or stroke. Most likely. We've already contacted the police. They'll want to speak with both of you. The rest happened fast. The police went to our house to arrest Diane, but she was gone. Vanished. Her car was in the driveway, her clothes still in the closet, but she disappeared without a trace. They issued a warrant for her arrest, contacted the FBI, reached out to Marcus and the other families she'd targeted. It took 3 weeks, but they finally found her. She fled to Mexico under a fake identity, but someone recognized her photo from the news. She was extradited, arrested, and charged with attempted murder, fraud, and a dozen other crimes. The investigation into James Crawford's death was reopened. During the trial, more victims came forward. Diane, whose real name turned out to be Carol Winters, had been running this scheme for over a decade. 9 men, 9 families, millions of dollars. 2 suspicious deaths. She'd reinvented herself each time, creating new identities, new histories, new lives. She was convicted on multiple counts and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Dad and I attended every day of the trial. We needed to see it, needed to see her held accountable. On the last day, as they led her away in handcuffs, she looked at me. And she smiled. It's been a year now. Dad and I are still healing. We've been in therapy, both individual and together, trying to process everything that happened. The house feels different now. Lighter, somehow, even though the memories of what Diane Carol did will never fully fade. We've been slowly bringing Mom back into the house. Her photos are on the walls again. Her garden has been restored. I even found her wedding dress, the real one, the one I'd pulled from the trash and had it professionally cleaned and preserved. It hangs in a special case in the living room now, a reminder of what we almost lost and what we managed to protect. Dad and I are closer now than we've ever been. The experience brought us together in a way I never expected. He apologized to me, over and over, for not believing me sooner. For choosing Diane over me, even temporarily. I forgave him. How could I not? We were both victims. We both got manipulated by someone who made a living out of exploitation and lies. I still live at home. I'm taking online classes, working on my degree, and helping Dad rebuild his life. He's retired from his company, wanting to focus on healing and spending time with family. We've talked about selling the house, starting fresh somewhere new, but neither of us is ready yet. This is Mom's house. Our house. And we're not ready to let it go. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what might have happened if I hadn't found that folder. If I hadn't recorded Diane's phone call. If I hadn't been suspicious enough, stubborn enough, angry enough to keep digging, Dad might be dead. I might be dead. And Diane would have moved on to her next victim, her next family, her next scheme. But I did find the folder. I did keep digging. And even though it nearly destroyed our family, even though it brought danger and fear and pain into our lives, I'd do it all again. Because some things are worth fighting for. Family is worth fighting for. Memory is worth fighting for. And the truth, no matter how hard it is to uncover it, is always worth fighting for. My mother's memory wasn't erased. It wasn't replaced. It's alive in this house, in the garden, in the photos on the walls, in the wedding dress in the living room. And it's alive in me. In the strength she gave me, the values she taught me, the love she left behind. Diane tried to take that from us. But she failed. And now, every day, Dad and I honor Mom's memory by living fully, by staying close, by never taking family for granted. It's what she would have wanted. It's what we both needed. The replacement failed. The real family survived. And that's the ending that matters.